All right. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our Broxbourne session. We are discussing our partnership between the Broxbourne School and ViewSonic. First, I'm going to introduce our panel here today. We have Ed from Elementary Technologies, who supplies hardware and technologies to schools across the country. Then we have Matt here from ViewSonic and Nigel from the Broxbourne School. I am Kate Denning, Head of Professional Development for ViewSonic. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm just going to start with a few questions and kind of let the conversation flow freely amongst the four of us. The first question I would love to know the answer to, and I know the group would as well, is if you could just describe the value and importance of partnership and working together to deliver best outcomes. How do you all work together best?
Do you want me to start?
Go for it.
So technology in school today is really important.
Yes.
Everything we do in the classroom is based around the technology in the classroom. So we're a Google reference school. So all our students have Chromebooks, and in terms of making the best use of that, we need a joined up technology solution. So we need something that works all the time, and the only way we get that really is with a partnership between us, who are the users, and ViewSonic, who are the manufacturers, and Elementary Technology, who did the installation. And without those three things coming together, we wouldn't have that joined up solution that brings the value into the school, the value to the teachers.
Sure. Ed, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, I think we all need to bring our own expertise to any project. So you're curators of hardware and software. We're logistical planners, project managers, installers. And then between us all, we contribute to professional development training, making sure that teachers are using it effectively, making sure that the school is getting best value for their investment. And I think there's another dimension to partnership, and that's within the school, because you've got senior leaders, you've got IT staff, you've got teachers, and you've got pupils, of course. So all stakeholders have their own perspective for the greater good to improve outcomes. And there's a partnership within a school as well, which I think some schools overlook that, and you have a siloed decision maker. And it's really important to include everybody within a school as well. And Broxbourne did a good job of that.
Absolutely. So Matt, if you don't mind, would you let everyone know how you come into the equation with IT support and such?
Yeah, so from the ViewSonic perspective, it's really about looking at the long term. So it's not just about the panels, it's not just about the software, it's actually about the partnership between all of us, from Elementary as a supplier to Broxbourne as the customer, and looking at how we can actually implement this over the long term. So this is really a 2-year project to go from sort of where we were up to today. And it's really about finding the right solution based on what the teachers and students are actually going to use. So the Chromebooks, the Google reference score is all part of the story of finding the right balance between the different solutions that we're going to put in. And that partnership still exists today, so we're still moving forward. We still have a lot more work to do in terms of what that looks like for the long-term plan, really. So when you're working on a new build, it's more like a project management task. You're really looking at what tech do we need, what does the room look like, what technology goes in which place, and then from there it's really about, once the teachers and students are in, how do they use it and how do we support that moving forward. So that partnership's really what these projects are about. It's not it's not a one-time thing. It's a continuous journey that we go on together.
Sure. So speaking of a new build, and I know we're all here for students, we're all here for pupils. Nigel, would you tell me, what has Broxbourne learned through this whole transition in a new build, and what advice would you give to other schools?
So for us, it was a long journey from starting to plan a new school to actually moving in
Sure.
almost a year ago. And I guess the key thing that that you realize is that whilst the technology is at the heart of what we do, it's an enabling technology. Teachers don't really care about the technology. What they care about is the outcomes it delivers, how it helps the students to learn, the fact it works reliably, the fact that they don't have to worry when they come into their classroom that there are any issues with it. So in terms of what we learned in that process of going from planning a new school to delivering a new school is, be strategic about your plan, know what your teachers and what your students want, so engage with them in terms of what you're trying to deliver. And if you do that, the technology will transform the school that you work in. If you don't do that, if you just decide, well, this is what we're doing, without engaging the community, you're going to be less successful.
Absolutely. Ed, maybe you can kind of touch on this for us, but would you give us an idea of what kind of formalized strategy you started out with when you started working with the school?
Yep.
Was there a format you used or a template?
Yep. Well, it's a really exciting opportunity for a school and for a supplier and a vendor to start from the beginning. So we work with hundreds of schools every year, and you're kind of meeting them halfway through their journey, and they've got a hodgepodge of Wi-Fi, hardware, software, training levels. Some work, some use PowerPoint, some use ViewSonic, whatever it might be. And you've got to kind of untangle it all before you come up with your plan. And you've got to kind of drag it all the way back to the beginning, kicking and screaming.
Sure.
But with the Broxbourne, it's a clean slate, and it's a very exciting opportunity to plan it properly. So Wi-Fi connectivity is often overlooked, for example. So in a new build school, you kind of get that groundwork right first in order for all the screens to interact properly and all of the Chromebooks to have the bandwidth to work effectively. So we talk about planning, choosing, buying, using as our kind of EdTech roadmap.
Can you repeat that for the crowd?
Planning, choosing, buying, using.
I love
which
that.
Which rhymes, which is my favorite thing about it. But it's a great opportunity to start from the planning stage, because the majority of schools we work with, they're kind of already half using it. They're buying dribs and drabs, and it's a far more complex project to kind of untangle it. And I think the end result is cleaner, it's neater, and it's more effective, having started from scratch.
Completely. So let's talk about something that's not so pretty. Let's get dirty. What were some of the challenges? And I'm going to guess that, Matt, you probably have a little bit to add here, because sometimes it's just IT, it's tech, it's user error. What were some of the challenges that you all experienced?
Yeah, I think the challenges from a vendor's point of view is really to try and find that balance of like what we're trying to offer versus what their needs are. So there was a sort of a big procurement and testing phase, and Nigel was actually very, very vocal in terms of feedback and testing different parts of the solution, which is actually quite rare. We don't normally get so much feedback. So
thanks for that.
Having that participation at the level that we had allowed us to actually develop tools around what they needed. So even software development came into that journey as well. So things like the maths tools on Android and different things that were actually scoped into the projects for them to have features that they requested.
Right.
So having like a deeper participation really helps to sort of make sure that we're finding the right balance between what we have and what they kind of want, really. So that's why we have such a benefit on the longer term projects. But yeah, feedback, development, testing, deployment. My stages don't rhyme, but yeah, we kind of go through a similar kind of phase to elementary. But yeah, it's more on the sort of the technical side and on the development side, and now we're more about user adoption and training. So yeah, it moves forward in stages, shall we say.
Nigel, tell me about staff challenges.
So obviously we were moving into a new school in an incredibly short period of time. We had essentially Easter, 2 weeks, plus a few days either side to take everything from our old school that we wanted to keep and put it into the new school, including packing it up and unpacking it. And amongst that, elementary technology in their team had to install 70 plus screens.
No easy task.
No. I mean, so literally, it was a really difficult challenge because the builders were still in there, telling us you can't possibly do this, and you know, at the other side there was me shouting that, you know, we have to do it, otherwise we can't move in 3 weeks' time.
Right.
And elementary technology were really good at actually delivering that on time. So supply was a real worry 18 months ago. You know, we needed to get these screens. We needed to get them delivered at a particular day. We needed to get them installed over about a week, 10-day period. And then we had to get the training done for the teachers essentially the first couple of days back, because they'd never used this technology before at all. We were used to using projectors and smart boards, and we were going into a school with interactive panels. So they were really nervous. But the brilliant thing was, you know, we moved in, all the screens were working, all the technology was working. We did a sort of cascade of training down to the teachers, and they just loved it. You know, they you know, instead of walking and going, you know, I don't like this, it's different.
Right.
They walked in. We did, you know, some really cool demos with, you know, what the screens could do, and they loved it, and we've never looked back since, to be frank. So the challenges were about logistics, about training, about making sure that the solution was right, and that took a lot of time to make sure we had a solution that was going to deliver the best value for the school. But at the end of the day, you know, it just couldn't have gone better, really.
That's great to hear. It's not often that you have a staff that's so receptive to new tech. So I completely understand that. I just have 2 more questions. Ed, for you, what was it about the Broxbourne School that really made elementary technologies really, you know, excited about working together? What drew you to them?
I think the opportunity to start from the beginning is the most exciting bit, and we love a challenge. So the tight timescales and the demanding customer, the insistent customer who had the immaculate kind of attention to detail, we kind of had to rise to that challenge. And then when we saw this video, the drone footage, that was like, wow.
Inspiring.
And although I wasn't there at the time, when the teacher's eyes light up, just like the brightness of the touchscreen, of course, when they think, wow, this is actually going to work for me. And it's kind of a combination of relief and excitement, because teachers don't quite know what to expect when there's new technology. Is this going to generate a lot more work for me? Am I going to know how to use it? What about all my old resources? You know, a pupil's going to like it, and then there's kind of a relief and kind of joy and excitement all together. And that's kind of the benefit of our work. I mean, it's between us all, because we all had such an active role in making sure that happened. And that's the ultimate aim of all this, isn't it?
It's great to hear.
Deliver the outcome.
That's great to hear. Partnership is invaluable, that's for sure. Okay, final question. Nigel, this is for you, and I am so excited to hear your answer. What is next on your tech journey?
Wow, that's an interesting question. So I think we are going through a transition phase at the moment. The number of schools we've had visiting us, wanting to see what we're doing, doesn't slow down.
Okay.
You know, we've a bit like when I was 16 and we got a calculator and it transformed the way we worked.
Yeah.
Now we have every lesson where technology is being used to enhance what the students do. And I think, that technology is going to carry on having an impact around augmented reality, around enriching the way that students learn and the learning that teachers deliver. So I'm excited for what the next few years are going to bring to schools. And I think, that journey has just started with, the fact that we have a connected school with bandwidth that can deliver whatever the teachers want, whenever they want it. And, it's good to work with somebody like Matt at ViewSonic, who, there aren't many weeks go by when I don't give him a call and say, how do I fix this? Because, I'd like to do this. And most of the time he comes back pretty quickly, or it's like, oh, that's a good idea. We need to build it into what's coming next. So,
right.
I'm looking forward to how ViewSonic delivers more value with what we have in school. It's a big thank you really from me for you getting us to this point.
Well, we are so excited to work together, and thank you all for joining our session today. Thank you for being here, and we will be around for any last questions you may have. Thank you so much.